So welcome back. We're working our way through the acronym Nagivate, which is our way of guiding you through the process of integrating CBT, CFT, DBT and ACT in a way that makes sense to the client and hopefully to you too. So the second A in Nagivate is about acceptance. So this is about accepting oneself and also accepting other people. In this area, compassion-focused CFT really comes into its own. So thinking about compassion and the need to really work at what you might call a schema level. So a deep-seated core beliefs about the self and the world and other people. And the need really to get those in line so that the person can get a life worth living. So, for example, people who've been brought up with abusive or critical parenting, needing to address that and find a way of being towards themselves and towards their children, and towards the people around them, a different kind of person than who they've learned to be from their history. So exercises like two-chair work or talking to the bully, or limited reparenting, all can come in at this stage. So accepting self and other people, maybe taking a little from ACT about revisiting your story and maybe detaching a little from your past and finding it restricting and letting it narrow your focus. All of this work comes under A for accept self and others. And of course, this doesn't have to be done as one chunk. It can be spread through the therapy as you go along. But usually one has to have a good relationship with one's client to start working at that level. Then T stands for trauma. Obviously, many of our clients have trauma in their background, and tackling trauma, that T, can be done in many ways. So there are hints and tips in the book about handling flashbacks for people, using imagery rescripting, using reliving techniques, thinking about dealing with imagery that might be a result of trauma, thinking about dealing with particular procedures that people get involved in when they relate to other people. So tackling trauma is a whole piece of work in itself. And usually that would be done in the middle of a therapy where you have that trusting relationship. Then E is for emotions and exposure. So CBT, CFT, ACT, and DBT all have their different emphasis on being able to handle emotions and thoughts which are distressing. This therapy, being mindfulness based, uses a lot of acceptance work around that, uses some CBT techniques in terms of reviewing thoughts, helicoptering up, getting thoughts in context. You can take some work from ACT in terms of relational frame theory about reframing the way that people understand the meaning of certain thoughts and certain events. So emotions and exposure is very important all the way through. And the last part of the acronym S is for skills. DBT is very strong on that. So Linehan always says either people have the skill and don't use it, or they don't have the skill. So skills such as naming, identifying and naming emotions, handling hopeless thoughts, surfing urges, calming yourself down, interpersonal skills. These are all things that the client might actually need to learn. So we'll be teaching the client these skills depending on what we assess the client as needing. And altogether, we're really looking at this two-piece of work. The first piece is moving away from the problem and changing that, doing something new and different, using behavior analysis. The second piece is moving towards a life worth living, and this together with in an ambience of acceptance and mindfulness. So that, in a nutshell, is Get Your Life Back.